Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. If you're looking for PTCG live codes, make sure you check out the Potown store. You can get a 5% discount on your orders using that code OmniPoke. For today's video, we're going to be doing a VOD review of my round number 9 in day 1 of the EUIC. You won't be able to find this one on YouTube because it goes beyond their 12-hour limits, but you can still find it on Twitch. Just for a bit of intrigue, I suppose, it's always nice to do a VOD review. I'm fairly experienced with the archetype, and also my opponent Alex is playing a really interesting list of Dragapult, which ended up doing quite well in the tournament as well. So I think a few elements to sort of keep track of here for a matchup that I have a lot less experience with compared to a regular Dragapult Dusknoir, but also I've got a commissioned extra caster in here to help with the analysis. We have Emily, who you can see on the NA side for some casting, who's going to pick up things if I'm getting carried away or anything else that I miss, alright? Sound good? Let's get this started. I'm doing it slightly faster, so hopefully we can keep up with everything, but I'm going to basically talk through my mentality going in throughout all the turns and what I'm sort of expecting and thinking of, and then also possibly the pitfalls of all of those things, because this game definitely has mistakes as well as decent plays from me. I did have to wear a Play Pokemon t-shirt.
You had to?
Yeah.
You had to?
Yeah, I had the CCG jumper on,
Ooh,
and I don't know if it's...
I
know. I don't know if it's... well, it's not guaranteed to be approved yet, so we'll work on that. But yeah, I think... I was already locked into day 2 at that point, 6-1-1, so it was
7-1-1. Oh no, 6-1-1.
I went to 7-1-1 with that one.
Yep.
So it wasn't a big stressful game, but I will say it's been a while that I've been on broadcast and had that loud noise. For prizes, nothing too painful for me, much worse for Alex.
Oh, yeah.
Alakazam is a big card, but also the Defiance Band is quite important when you don't play that Dusk to have the extra damage output.
Were you expecting that in game 2?
No. I don't see it in game 1, I'm pretty certain.
No, you don't see it at all in game 1.
So,
and then in game 2 you do see it.
Yeah, we'll come to that.
Small note before you start. You were saying that you were opting to go second.
Yeah, so I won this coin flip.
Oh, interesting.
And I chose to go second.
So why would you go second when usually Archaludon wants to evolve first?
I just don't trust my own deck, and
okay,
I like the
perfect.
extra outs to play the game. That's literally it. If I was playing Pokestop, I'd probably opt first.
Okay, that's fair.
But with the Jamming Tower build, you opt second just to play the game, and you'll actually see that immediately with my opening hand, where if I went first, it would be turbo garbage. I would just be in the bin.
What did you think of the Lost City on the first discard here?
I was really happy it was discarded, because I felt like they would probably only play one. They actually play more, because one was prized as well.
Right, correct.
But I thought maybe there would be 1-1 Sinnoh, or 1-1 Vacuum,
Right.
something like that. And because I'm playing a Dialga V-Star build, the fact that that Lost City was removed straight away meant that I could much more reliably get my Dialga out, because you need to really go wide. So that discard was pretty good for me, but also I was a little bit ears pricking on high alert that something was going on. They got an attached pass, so I'm pretty happy with that, right? They've only got one Dreepy down, whiffed Poffin, and I just have a tower attach research. I'm happy to attach because I'm throwing away enough metal energy already. I had a small debate whether or not I was going to Pokeget out any supporter, but I hadn't searched my deck yet, so I didn't know if it was fair to get rid of anything like Thornton, and the Palpad's going in the opening research, so you never thin a card there. I open up a few big arches, which is good, and also a Nest Ball. I don't have any energy in that hand, I don't think.
No, none at all.
So even though getting Greninja's pretty valuable here, you definitely want to back up Duraludon. But also I'm thinking, because their setup wasn't great, I was expecting them to just do an Arvin Poffin Evo in the best case, or a Budu kind of situation. So I want to get a backup Duraludon, certainly, and then the debate is do I go Greninja or do I go Dialga?
Well, technically with the Ultra Ball you can go both, but then of course we're starting to thin the hand away from resources, but you are going to go wide here. And you play a decent amount of Night Stretcher too.
That's exactly why this is the play that I go for, because I'm expecting Budu probably next turn.
Right.
So I can't use those items anyway. So I may as well do them now. If I get Hand Disrupted as well, Iono is a reasonable play for them on turn 2. Night Stretcher actually improves my outs of finding this Dialga later. So it's getting that V-Star in the bin is really helpful early on. So I'm starting a pretty decent hand. I do the 30 poke here. It's not actually amazing math for a lot of things. The only thing it can help me with is if I can evolve into a Duraludon and they don't factor in all the math for me Raging Hammering later. and maybe it could get punished by some Monkey Dory, but at that point I wasn't expecting Monkey Dory, so I thought I may as well just do the 3 damage there.
So interesting that your opponent is going to like go back and prioritize setup here. I think a lot of aggressive players would see like, oh, well, there's like 1 Dura, I can get things started and kind of like go for the instant pull, right? I think there was a fire energy in the hand, but...
Yeah, he vesseled on 1, and he does go aggro hit. So he had Lance and Arven.
Right.
I think I basically always go Lance there.
Yeah, no, I think like going into like this format, right? This is like one of our first bigger tournaments in this.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people would prioritize just like getting Wonder Cloak, getting the Dreepies, and then kind of going through the deck a little bit more. But your opponent is going to swing wide.
I think so that the nuance here is that because I'm already prepped for a Budu, maybe he's thinking like he can't Lance an item lock or something like that, so he may as well just take the aggressive turn and like maybe Lance next turn is probably his line of play, but he's left with basically nothing in hand.
Yeah, and that's the risk of it all, right? Like now you have 1 big Dragapult here, but the problem is you have nothing that you've set up after. I mean, obviously Alex's next turn, right? We go Lance and then we start the crawl back here, but the problem is what do we do after that?
Yeah. Because of this as well, I think Iona is my only supporter anyway.
Correct.
But if you see an aggressive line like that, you basically know for certain that they're playing something different. Like they have something else in hand, because otherwise they do the passive Arven.
Right.
They do the slower setup Arven just to get stuff rolling. And if they're completely dead, they would just try and find a Dracloak and draw out.
Right.
So the Iona here is like, I know it's a really good Iona for me because I'm definitely getting rid of another Arven or a Lance from their hand. And even if they're getting 5 cards, I'm like happier with that outcome. I don't think I get much else. Do I just get double Stretcher here?
You get Counter Catcher in there too, but I don't think you use it. And just to spoil it, I don't think you were set up for Star Kronos at all this set. I ended up like finishing my round 9 kind of early and coming over to stream to watch you, but I don't think I saw Star Kronos at all.
I think I might do it this
might get it
game
this
at
game?
some point. But
I can't remember.
So at least here I can spend double Night Stretcher. Night Stretcher is like the lifeblood of this deck.
Yes,
that's the thing that's like unfair about this deck, really. So the fact that I can get backup Dur here as well as backup V-Star
Right.
is really good. I debate for a little bit whether it's worth me getting second Dur down just because it's an easy Gust play for him.
Right.
And just making him punch the Arch is pretty good for me. But I essentially figured that he has to set up next turn. Like if he can't play a boss this turn,
right?
Because unless he has like boss Poffin that I Iono'd him into, which is just such an absurd combo.
Fish for Lance, I think is pretty obvious here, right? Like you do not have setup. And
he has to get to work on that. This is kind of interesting. He plays double fish, so that's also like fine. I'm always happy to see the Luminions and the Pheasantipities coming down.
That's just easy to Gust 2 prizes, right?
So
how do you feel about Dragapult's kind of moving away from like the Sparkling Crystal build, and now we're just straight up going for like what it was kind of before that, which was mostly just unfair Stamp?
Well, I'm terrified of Stamp. I'm much more afraid of Stamp than I am of Crystal.
Yeah.
So like I can punish some like slow attachments from him, but I'm much more worried about Stamp because this, especially a Dialga build where you don't have the Black Belt's training, you really need to prioritize your setup to have a decent time here.
Is there a reason you cut that? Because a lot of Arch is playing Black Belt.
Right. So with Dialga is essentially my way of going higher. So I just prioritize the V-Star rather than having Black Belt to get the one-hit goes into the Pulse or the Guardies. Especially, the main reason why is because Churro and Boss are both good plays when you get punched.
Right.
So like the Black Belt just adds to your good plays that aren't draw supporters. Whereas the Dialga like gives you much more flexibility. So I have a really nice Churro play here. And because there's a lot of prep damage already on this Pult, I know I can go Dialga freely and not have to do a 2-turn play here. I can just finish off this guy. I've already seen a Candy go, and I've seen that they haven't got any cloaks down. So this is where I'm taking a hedge and saying, let's just start loading up the Dialga, get it as close as possible to Kronos, because Kronos is just like game winning on the spot, right? Exactly. Most of the time. So I do end up committing, I think, even the energy in hand here.
Yes, you
do. What does that leave me with? Research counter jamming. So I'm pretty happy like holding that hand. Churro was a really good play for me there.
Yeah,
and now like they are in such a wacky position here.
And it all goes back to the first decision of going so hard for the Arven and going for the Dragapult first instead of prioritizing the setup with Lance. This could have been a very different game.
100%. But this is where they're showing second fish, but also it's where they're revealing their ace spec to me for the first time, which is the unfair Stamp. The good news is that I put with the 3 energy committed to the Dialga, whereas like I could have split it up. I could have just 1 energy attached and put more energy on the benched Arch, like set up multiple threats. Because I did it this way round, even off an unfair stamp, I'm not that far away from still going Chronos, and that's just crazy, right? But yeah, the stamp is pretty back-breaking for me quite often. Right. He needs a lot here, though. Like, he still needs to draw into cloaks here just naturally to get anything going. Right. The Forest Seal Stone isn't live unless he finds a counter stadium. So there's a lot that Alex needs from this position. I think I'm like really in a good spot here. He does find at least 1 cloak, and he finds counter catcher. So that's a pretty good rip from the 5. This is a second cloak as well. Like that's pretty fortunate, I would say. Second Budu versus Poff.
We could just get rid of Poff kind of dead. With an Ultra Ball that he still has in hand here. Counter catcher. Oh, see, I think that's really interesting because I think with like a fully formed bridge, sometimes like counter catchering the bridge is just so much of a pain. So 1 Greninja just to retreat to have another attacker.
So I think the exact reason is that if I have Churro and he brings up the bridge, then I'm straight into Chronos.
Fair.
So now he's like, even if he can Churro, it has to be the Greninja now. Right. So it's like trying to limit an out there. It was close though, and yeah, I just had to pass back because my hand is Ultra Ball Stadium, I think. Right. So Stamp gets me with the Budu, otherwise I'd be straight back out into Fish and rolling again.
Missed turn here though from you is kind of tough.
Yeah, so I mean that's what Buddy has to try and do here for Alex, but now he's going to start drawing a lot of cards.
That's when Dragapult's honestly the scariest because it's like nothing actually does kind of feel right, but
yeah, that's powered up now. Yeah. Alex was the one commentating live this game, and he was basically saying the next objective for Alex is to try and deal with that Dialga. So after a 1 turn of whiff, I do get to research after the fact, which is nice. It was not an aggressive turn from Alex. He wants to just hold and try and gust that Dialga. So that's why he's stuck with Budu, even though he had Drago ready. But I did top deck, and that means that I can pay retreat the Greninja, even under item lock. I found the Arch, which is, again, like pretty high roll, and that gets me straight into Chronos, which is really, really strong here. So this is where my mess up comes. So I'm at 3 prizes, starting my second of 2 turns. And I know now that I'm in an incredible position to win this game, right? There's a lot of reasons for this. I have 80 damage on Dialga, which sounds bad, but it's actually really good because it makes the Dragapult KO me, which means I can have Pheasantipity live to like get my last 2 prizes. And I know there's 2 Luminion on the bench, so I know that that's my route to my final 2 if I just Dialga for 1 this turn. So I don't want to prioritize bossing this turn unless I can KO the Dragapult. So I think here I'm just trying to fish for boss on Pult, possibly, if I was able to find another energy or something along those lines. But failing that, all I want to do is get Fez down, and I want to pick up my Archaludon on the bench, and ideally then evolve that, and then I have a backup for when this Dialga goes down, because Alex has to respect this Dialga. It's got too much damage output. The Metal Blast can reach the Dragapult, so they really have to just respect that option. I go for a nest, just a thin bundle, and it cuts back. Don't worry.
I was about to say, I was like, wait, what?
I've watched it before. But I do the bundle just a thin, because I know that bundle is never live for me. They're going to keep that final cloak on board for the whole game.
Right.
So, because I only have 3 left, right? So I just throw away bundle knowing it's dead in my deck. Then I can put down the Fez that's in hand, because I know I've got the Dialga set up. And then I have the debate of Churro or Cyclone. I make a terrible choice to Cyclone here. That my logic was because Budu Trap is probably one of my only lost conditions here.
Correct.
But I should use the supporter while I have it. And here is the big mistake. If I just evolve back up an Arch there, I then use my final, 2 of my 3 energy in the discard pile to then load up the final Arch. The only thing I was thinking was that if I get hand disrupted here, I still have the Fez draw, and I still often close the game with like a thin deck. So I was more concerned about Alex getting really creative and using Alakazam to not KO this Dialga and try and trap other stuff.
Sure.
So my thought process was that he had to do a really crazy play to beat me here.
Sure.
Rather than play around like just the routine play of like, I'm just going to toss an Iono here and hope to dodge for a couple turns. So I got in my own head a little bit too much that turn and could have been in a really insane spot. But I actually think that's because of earlier in the day, I faced another Dragapult that was like completely back against the wall, and his comeback line was like painful spooning, jet head butting for like a bunch of turns while my board was like completely locked for a bit.
Right.
So I got in my own head a little bit there from like a really obvious play, which was just evolve Archaludon there, and then I win with like Energy Boss.
It's called going the scenic route.
Yes.
And you're on stream.
Yes.
Everybody's gonna play like 25% worse on stream.
I think so,
because
yeah.
like that white noise is insanely loud.
Yeah.
It's like TV static, like that goes straight through your brain. It's
Mm-hmm.
I did the test game at San Antonio and it was
Yeah.
a nightmare. I would not be able to play with that often.
Yeah, it's a lot, and it's been a while since I've been on a stream game, and previously I've had like music or I've had like less noise. But in this case, it's a lot. So Alex does the right thing. He goes Iono. He has to deal with the Dialga, so there's no gusting play lined up. Not too sure about the 6 damage on Dur. I don't like that a lot.
It's gotta go somewhere, right?
I prefer it on the Greninja, probably.
Or maybe like 10 on Fezandipity just to line
10
up
on
the
Fez is
map.
solid as well. Yeah. Because there's still that stadium in play that Alex hasn't been able to bounce yet, so he's still not been able to utilize his forest either.
Off the top of your head, reading Greninja 130 hit points,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Could have been like a lineup here with getting
Yeah.
7 and then 1 and then being able to take the 3 prizes there with the
Yeah, I don't think he... Yeah, exactly. That could be his 2-turn win, so this 6 on Duraludon is terrible, actually. Because also, if I was able to evolve here, I could then make it so that Alex has to not attack that Arch again, because I could win with Relicanth.
right.
So that 6 is poor from him. My Fez doesn't get me game. I was looking for energy... sorry, I had Night Stretcher, right? So I was looking just for the Arch. I didn't play the Nest Balls, because I was still looking for potential... what was it? Drawing into Night Stretcher for Luminion,
Right.
I think helps me there. I think that's what it was.
Deck's thin though.
Yeah, deck is pretty thin, but I shuffled 2 of the Arch EX to the bottom.
Right.
So there's also an argument for me to have played that Nest Ball before. And because Alex's hand was crazy, and I know that if I just evolve into an Arch here, he's in a terrible position, or like a pretty bad position. I'm okay. I still don't hit an Arch, which is a bit of a shame. I don't think. So I think I just have to pass here.
Were
and
you
just
down all 4 Night Stretchers at this point?
No. I think I have 1 still in deck that I was fishing for last turn.
Yeah, if
But
it
I'm
was
out of-
1
I'm out
and
of basic
5,
energy.
that would have been boss on this, and then the rest Phantom Dive.
That
pretty
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So that's why I had to Iono as well, like partly because of that. He can still do some spoon shenanigans, right? He could
Yeah, that's also fair.
he could like bounce Stadium Defiance, KO the
Right,
Fez with the
right.
spoon back to the active.
Yeah, but he hadn't pulled Defiance Band yet because it was
That's
at the top
right.
of the prizes.
That's right. Does have the counter catcher, so it brings
Yeah.
up the Fez.
So think about it, right? This could have been
That could be game
That
if
could
he'd
have
done it
been game
right.
if he did 1 and 5, right?
yes,
That's crazy. You also escaped.
I high rolled.
Yeah.
and I still got out. Quite
Yeah, that's
lucky
crazy.
there.
Math.
Like, I should have been punished for how I knew after game 1 that I should have been punished for how I played in game 1.
Right.
This is this really weird position where this is my final Night Stretcher, and I have to use it to Greninja. I have to use it to Greninja to hit my Churro that I didn't play because I chose to Cyclone instead, like
Right.
an idiot, or my Pokegear. So randomly, my misplay actually gives me an out here, which is kind of cool.
It's also his misplay. Talking about the math is like super big there.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that keeps me at-
Spoilers.
Spoilers, it goes well. We hit the gear, and I know that my deck's thin enough that I can go Churro for the free turn. I'm still in this Helter Skelter though, like I still have to give him a turn again here, while I'm just waiting for something.
You were so excited it fell out of it. Also, I have to say,
I
playing
threw
at the table is also like the table is slippery itself.
Yeah.
Your cards are sliding everywhere.
I threw it down and then was like, hang on, is there a Churro play? No, there's not a Churro play. Because I was thinking, like, could I Churro counter catch and maybe win off that or
Right,
something?
right.
But that wasn't open.
Nope.
So, or could I, like, find a way to Fez, but there was no way to do it. Not Fez, Relicanth, but no,
Right.
not possible. So we did find a way out of the Churro, or like with Churro there, so we kind of were saved a little bit here.
Right. And just taking the win con off the board. Right?
Yeah, we take win off board. Alex now has a choice of whether to take 1 and spread more damage around, which I think is probably the best play. Or he can take out my Greninja and limit even more draw along this Iono.
This Pult list is so interesting. Like, I think Clef Key, for example, in a Pult list is so crazy. 2 Badoo, 1 Clef.
3. He plays 3. Yeah.
3 Badoo, Unfair Stamp, Clef Key, like, Lost City. Like, this is... what deck do you think is, like, this is most completely decked out for? Like, is it for the mirror? Is it for, like, everything,
I think Dustomar's the best thing for the mirror. So I don't think it's mirror. I think Gardevoir definitely, and then the Klefki and the Budews is like pretty, and the Stamp really good against the aggressive decks. So like the Miraidons and stuff. He ends up taking the 2 to take away my draw.
And then you top deck.
And then we top deck research, yeah. So
and then the rest of the deck is counter catcher and energy, and that's all she wrote, right?
Well, we need the second arch. I'm completely out of energy and Night Stretcher there, so I had to have double arch evolve. But he couldn't deny that last turn, even with like shenanigans.
Yeah.
I actually, because I had in my head, again, this is where I'm playing against myself more than my opponent at this stage. I thought he would only take 1 that turn to not have Counter Catch alive.
Right.
But then I look over to the left, and then I see that I actually I have win.
This was killing me in the crowd. Me and Skarsig were laughing it up.
Yeah.
And he was looking in the discard pile. You just like took the fish.
Yeah, you'll probably see, like, there's a point where I, like, look at the camera and I'm just, like, pretending to smile, but I knew I was, like, hating how I played that game.
Right.
Really tragic. Yeah, you can see it. I'm saying it's, like, not great.
You looked at your friends in the crowd and then you looked at me and, like, everybody was, like, cheering, though. It was fun. I mean, it was a long day at that point. Like...
It was a lot of good support as well.
It was like, yourself.
There you go. Yeah, I was so angry at how I played that game. It was fortunate that I could like mentally reset there and not be tilted for game 2.
I think it all went wrong here. I think all Dragapult early, right? Yes, it's a good idea, right? Like Recon Directive is just such a good ability that allows for you to see so much more. I would have prioritized going for
it is a weird one. I think it looks glaringly terrible, but I think that this is a bad matchup if he sets up and I set up.
Right.
So the fact that he's trying to scupper Dialga altogether actually feels quite reasonable to me.
Sure.
And he knows that Pult is free, like safe for a turn.
Right.
I think it's just like an aggressive tempo line versus like a let's just set up, and maybe he's recognizing that this matchup's not great. He can't buy time with Budew as frequently as he could against other decks because I just have Hammer in.
Right.
So I actually think it's not like a straight up misplay. It just like you said, it changes the complexion of that game.
Right. And of course, like the math at the end, like
yes.
moving.
That was the mistake, right?
That was the mistake, right? Because that could have been like counter catcher, or that could have just been boss fez knockout.
It should be Alex's game there, realistically, after I make my mistake. So I'm forced first. So Alex also wanted to go second, right, to be able to Budew me and also have access to his Lance. He played a bunch of those. So, like I said, I opt blind second here, but in this matchup I would also choose second if I'd gone to a game 3. My prizes aren't the best. You know, whenever you see an ace spec in the prizes, that's not great, and I need Fez draw a lot because of the Iono spam that he's going to go in the mid game.
Right.
But the Greninja helps me out. It gets me into Nest, I'm pretty sure, and looks like I'm bringing up another. Oh, it's a Vessel here. I just want to play things proactively. My items, I should say. Like, I'm also tossing the gear here. I have to attach somewhere this turn so that I can hammer in a Budew. So I'm probably just attaching to the door on the bench, honestly.
Figuring it out.
Yeah.
Essentially.
And then next turn I can do whatever. I don't think you attach active here. Yeah, you attach to the bench. So it's a fairly safe route. I'm holding on to Duraludon or Arch.
What a hand, though, at the start.
He's got Lance Poff.
Lance Poff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but too bad 2 of your buddies are in the prizes.
2 of the 3. And 2 Lost City. And we saw that jamming towers, even without the Sparkling Crystal, if I can jam a Forest, that can still be massive for me. So. But yeah, he probably wants to just Budew, right? I don't see a reason to not just try Budewing me here. Because this is the really painful thing about the Stamp build, is that I have an easy way to KO Budew, then he can instantly railroad me with Stamp.
Right.
With setup. So pretty terrifying, actually, his opener. So much Bull Search.
Yeah, but this setup, this board compared to like game 1 board is just so much better.
Yeah.
I'm like so much more comfortable like watching this. The Clef Key!
I don't know if I like that as much. I think Budew is better than Key here.
Right, because what's stopping you from just attach retreat?
Like he knows I have
cards?
he knows I have energy so I think he's only doing this because he doesn't want to give up the one prize, but
fair.
he probably should want to give up the
Right.
prize. Maybe
Fine countercatcher.
and
yeah.
fine countercatcher, but he goes crisp instead, so he can get a retreat
Jeez.
in any way, which way, and then start building up a dreep.
Yeah.
Interesting line taken. Like he could have gone Churro and Buddy
Right.
as a play.
And then
That's
you
in his
just,
hand, but he
yeah.
goes crisp instead.
Yeah, and this allows for you to just set up freely, right?
So yeah, like the Klefki's
Just all from the hand,
not
too.
doing much. Yeah, I had EX, I had the retreat, so that's the second energy in the bin. I'm holding Iono and Boss. He doesn't have many in hand, he has 4, so I think I should just chase the energy here. Like his turn 1 supporter wasn't Arven or
Right.
Lance. It was like a Crispin, so in this point I actually think he's in like a panic spot.
Right.
Low key. So I was happy to just chase energy here, and because I saw his A spec, right, I'm chasing energy so that he has to play more Crispins or
Right.
take more turns off. Both are great for me. So the aggressive boss was pretty solid here.
You just chase down the energy spoilers for like the rest of the.
That's
the
pretty
set.
much the plan. There is a close call I think I have later, but ultimately I think chasing energy is never like a bad thing. He high rolls into the stamp, which is a pretty big deal because normally you'd expect him to have to Arven for stamp.
Right.
So he got the best of both worlds where he was able to Lance, get double cloak, and stamp me.
Right.
So pretty good turn from him again. Like his opener was really good. This turn was really good. I've done like just about enough, and it's going to be a buddy play here. And there's my 2.
2 big ones, as we like to say.
2 big uns. I think I get boss from the 2, so that's a pretty good one.
Unfair.
Yeah.
That's what we like to call a fun fair stamp.
Fun fair stamp.
Fun
I'd prefer
fair.
a research, but a boss is fine.
Yeah, right, because you just chase down the energy once again.
Uh-huh.
I'm always the one who's getting, I think, for me, if I ever like decide to make a video about my EUIC run, we have too many Pokemon that do stuff in the active. So like, I was getting Klefki and Fluttermane mixed up like the entire weekend. Also running on like maybe not too much sleep at all too. So
Classic.
just classic recommendation. Please get some sleep the night before your IC run, so you don't get 2 DPLs like I did, which is not great.
Fez draws the vessel, so he can still get an attachment in. I think if he whiffs energy from that Fez, it's game over, like no matter what. Because if there was no energy on that board, I'd be bossing the Fez here.
He passed instead of 10 damage?
It's resist, so he is.
Yeah,
he
that's
is
right.
locking me here.
I always forget. Man.
Yeah. But I am under lock, so I just have a boss play here.
Such a jerk.
my turn is boss stadium, and just swing. My hand is Dialga V, and now Night Stretcher. Pretty sure. So the stamp is still messing me up, but I know I have a little bit of time at least.
Well, yeah, you have a completely full arch. No.
Yeah, and I took the energy off the board.
And now here comes the tricky Defiance band.
It's not this turn, I don't think. I think it's because he can't attack me this turn, right?
He doesn't Crispin, right?
I think he's already played the crisp. I don't know. Maybe he does attack me here. I can't remember this turn so well.
Either. I think maybe.
Oh,
you
I
were,
think
like,
he does attack me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I was in the crowd for this. Like, I was like, oh, this was wild. Like we've been talking about, this list has been, like, very interesting.
Yeah. He's still just trying to slow buddy me here, though. Because he needs to slow attach to this Pult. He shouldn't have evolved it, though, I don't think. Because
Why?
it's so unlikely that I have third boss in my hand and energy.
You never know.
I don't think you play around that. I think you just try and have an extra recon there.
Sure.
I think the evolve is kind of bad there. And I just have to pass again because my prize was a stretcher. My top deck was, I think, another, like, tower. So now he gets an extra turn on me. These buddies have been pretty good for him. Like, yes, it's a stamp, so I have a low hand, but I really don't need much to just keep the pressure on there. So he has been quite fortunate to buy an extra turn. He just goes again while he, like, keeps reconning. And again, like, he could have had an extra recon there if he hadn't evolved last turn. My top deck is Churro, which is, like, just good enough so that I can attack and keep pressure on. Importantly here, though, I take my Cyclone from prize, which is really big, because Alex is finally ready to start attacking me after this Fez and whatnot. There you go, he's picked up fire now.
Yeah, here comes the Defiance.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's going to swing into me, and then I'm going to try and pick up... Now that I've picked up Cyclone, I can make a pretty cool line next turn. But yeah, so his priority here, like, obviously he just has to hit the arch because there's nothing else in play. but it's about him maybe trying to hand disrupt. I'm down to 3, but he knows my hand's been pretty trash. Although it was under Buddy Lock the last couple turns, so he doesn't really know how good my hand is at all. But I finally have released from Lock, so I can have a turn to build up some stuff. And there was a couple lines here that I could have gone for. I could just swing with the Arch into the Pult here and just like sort of keep up pressure. But because I hadn't seen a Defiance Band yet and Jamming Tower was in play, I make this pretty interesting play, which is to get down the Dialga and get it into the active to attempt play. I do a retreat first, and that's so that I have Metal Coating online, knowing that I'm cycloning this energy up to Greninja, and I have the Night Stretcher anyway, so I should definitely do this one first.
I think me and Skarsnik at this point were like, he was like, what is he going for? I was like, I think he's going to go for the Metal Coat.
It's because
but he doesn't see the Defiance Band in hand.
Yeah, but it's also like, I had no supporter in hand, right? So I needed to get the Cyclone was so important for me to draw more cards with the Greninja there.
Right.
So I had to do that. I find Ultra Ball, now I can fish research, and I think I'm finally going to have a big hand for like the first time this game since my opener.
Would you say out of like all of the decks right now that like Archaludon takes the most patient?
No, I don't think so. I think there are times where you just go like, I'm ahead, I'm just going to keep swinging. I ask how many cards he has in hand, and it's like 15. So rather than researching, I go Iono here, knowing that if I just research, he Ionos me back 100% of the time.
Fair.
So I say, I'm happy with my board as is. I may as well disrupt him, and I'm going to Coating into him. So if he does have shenanigans, I'm hoping to like make it harder for him. I also Iono myself into V-Star, which I think after a Metal Coating is busted. Yeah, because I'm like, I don't have any energy in the bin, so it's still a lot for me to get a turn 2 Chronos, but like one Greninja draw can get me towards like an Ultra Ball or something, and then I'm there. So quite a niche spot for me to try and weave in the Dialga, but again, I hadn't seen the Defiance Band yet. And I've just Ionoed him, in fairness. Like, it's to 6, but still, he still needs a few pieces, and he only has Recon here.
He finds it off the Recon?
He's got Fish, so he can go Fish now. But I think he doesn't even have Stadium yet, either.
No,
so
he finds it
Recon,
there.
Yeah, Recon for Stadium. Now he can grab the Defiance Band. So, yeah, he plays 3 Stadiums. That's a lot. Sinnoh double Lost City. I know that the Dusknoir takes up a lot of space, but these counts are kind of wild in.
What was your reaction when you saw the Defiance Band?
Wasn't too happy. I thought I was still, like, ahead, though. I thought that I was, like, winning the game off of this play. And now I'm like, that's a shame. but I'd seen enough things. Like, I knew there was a stamp, so I knew there was always the potential for weird stuff to happen.
Right.
So...
Was this the most unique build of Dragapult you had seen this tournament?
Yeah, for sure. I'd just faced Dusknoir ones up to this point. So now my hand is Ultra Ball, Night Stretcher, something like that. So I have guaranteed Arch.
And the Relic.
Or I can go Research as well here. Like I can Ultra Ball, grab the Fish, Night Stretcher, Arch, and then Fish has already played, so...
Correct.
I
you
have Fez. Yeah, I'm still looking for supporters here.
And it's important to note, too, that this match goes to time.
It does. Yeah, we have 4 minutes left now. I'm a little ahead, but not a lot ahead.
Definitely not comfortably
Not
ahead.
comfortable.
Not anymore, right? Like, you take Mr. Time Lord V-Star Dialga himself, you start Chronos, and then you basically kind of, like, whack from there. But the problem is, like...
With that denied, I slow down, like, a bunch now.
Yeah, because every decision's like so much more important at this point.
My game plan like slows down a lot. I'm still playing quick. Finding Vessel is really important because I think I've only got 3 energy. I've only seen 3 energy like all game, and you just want to start pitching more every turn. So that was important.
The Klefki is so interesting. I feel like this is just like such an anti like Dragapult deck, anti
scared of Miraidon,
deck,
scared of everything else.
Deck, yeah.
So I'm able to conceal into the Research. So then I have the option of Research, Iono, and Churro. All pretty good options, honestly. I think looking back, I go Iono here, I'm pretty sure.
I would. I think first response is Iono, right? Like, you see how many cards Dragapult pulls, like you said earlier, and you would just naturally
and
Iono.
Also, I'm not activating Fez, which makes the Iono stronger. So they're only seeing 7 with the Recon, the top deck, and everything else. And again, because he keeps putting 6 on my arches.
Right.
If ever he can't Gust, he loses on the spot with this, I think. So, I reload a boss and a churro. I think that's really reasonable. Like, nothing to be said there too much. Boss is helping me close this game. If I'm punching this Dragapult, I need to chase it if he retreats. Or I need to, like, finish that, then get my final 1 prize. And then churro is just, like, good at this stage for a lot of reasons. I can always heal my archers or anything else if he's trying to get fruity. He does have boss himself here. I think he needs to look for energy to start dealing with his backup Dragger. But he really shouldn't be trying to hit this, to be honest. He should not be trying... Well, the Night Stretch is pretty good, so he can get an energy drop somewhere. He finds Ball Search as well. So he can get the Zam. Time. Yeah.
I feel like we never really got to see like the utilization of Alakazam because there were so many turns of Budu, like a couple times.
He prized it one game.
Right.
The Budu like prodded Greninja, and that helped him set up like naturally, so he didn't have to spoon it. So yeah, there was a bit of that going on. But normally, the Alakazam can be really cheeky here because he has to play around Raging Hammer and then get into KO range. So it's like a weird back and forth where he has to stay far enough out and then like suddenly take the prize in one go to play around my healing.
Yeah, was the line here not just like move 10 and then boss, right?
So he has the Defiance live, so he can just take this.
Yeah. It's fair.
So he's setting himself up for win, right? But he's played a boss now. I can't remember how many boss he plays. Like maybe he's banking on Counter Catch game. If I take out this Pult next turn, he looks for Counter Catch final Pult. Like he's holding Pult in hand, so he's trying to line up with Fez that he can get Arven Counter Catcher final energy,
right?
And he beats me from there. And we are in terms of time. This is my turn one. Yeah. Right. So I know that I don't have to win the set. Obviously, I'm 1-0 up. But Iono's decent for me. There's also a line where I take boss and just boss up Alakazam and say I'm not taking prizes. You have a 3-card hand. Like, you can't beat me in turns, probably. Because I won't let the Counter Catch alive.
Yeah, but this is your Churro
and then
play
Greninja gets me Churro, and that just makes an easy play where I just say this is off the board now. But I had like a lot of supporter options there. Iona was decent, Boss was great, and Churro was just the best case scenario.
Right. Where
now I can go down to 2. I force him to draw more. Like even though he's getting 3 cards from Fez, I'm forcing him to see specific cards, which is important, and he just knows he can't win from there. So. Yeah, the second game was cleaner for me, I think.
Yeah.
The Dialga line, I feel like was correct and just got well punished by his list.
Sure.
Game 1 was a mess though. Like you can see I'm not even happy at this point because Game 1 was just such a tragedy. I was embarrassed, and I'm actually happy that like I really wanted an interview with Skarzig, but it would have just been me on tilt even though I won, and that's like such a bad vibe to be like, I won despite playing badly, which is like such a horrible thing to like say, and disrespectful to the opponent.
Well, that's why you're gonna monetize your YouTube channel and talk about your scuffed play there.
Yeah, exactly. So I can tell you how. Yeah, but yeah. So going back to we might as well see the replay just to like close things out. Game 1, I'm steamrolling with the Dialga, and I just whiff the. Evolution.
Don't take your opponent's cards like that.
Just peel it back up. I think it's. I only did it because he was looking at my discard pile. Yeah, he was. So I was trying to do that. I was trying to grab attention to him. I wasn't trying to BM. It looked like I slow rolled it, didn't it? But
yeah, it was kind of crazy to look at other cards. I was like, oh my god.
Anyway, that's the end of day 1.
And then Goldango happened.
So I ended day 1 7-1-1. Yesterday's video has my full tournament report if you care about to listen to that, but it goes downhill in day 2. I win the first round and then lose 3 on the spin, which isn't great. But yeah, interesting game to chat about. Definitely interesting list from them.
Probably one of its kind. Has to be 3 Badoo, 2 Lost City, 1 Sinnoh, 1 Defiance Band.
Yeah, I think people...
Text for everything.
People look at the Fernandez blueprint now, and Tords, I think, is the blueprint for the No Dusk going forward. But there are some interesting themes in that list, like the double Lost City, terrifying. 3 stadiums I don't think you necessarily need. 3 Budu, I think 2 is right. Like it felt like Alex really over-teched the list when you could just have extra counts of like we've seen 3 or 4 Lance in lists like
3. I thought everybody was playing at least 2 and then like letting it go.
And now it's going up and up and up, and also like Tor played Horlucha, which seems pretty good.
Card. I love that card.
Yeah,
I love
those
me a
sorts of
damage
tech cards
counter.
seem more valuable for Pulp going ahead if you play straight Pulp. But yeah, interesting game. Stamp terrifying. Very terrifying for an
I think
Arch.
Stamp is like one of the best A specs right now.
Yeah, and it's weird because you would think you wouldn't play 3 stadiums if you had if you had Crystal, maybe you'd think about 3.
Right.
But you chose to not play Crystal and then still had 3.
Yeah.
So they're just they're not even stadium cards to be bounces. He's doing it just to be tech cards. Yeah, interesting game though. And Alex, he made that one. The big mistake was 6 on a Duraludon.
Yeah.
When the line was 100%.
100%.
Put it on the Greninja, set that up for game.
Yep.
So I did get bailed out there. Should have been punished for my mistake, and I tweeted at the time that I know I should have been punished and wasn't. So I was sat in that chair hating myself, not understanding what was going on the other side of the table. Yeah, it was wild. It's much easier to be at the desk talking about these plays than it is at the table.
Yeah, every caster kind of thinks to themselves like, "Oh man, I really wish I was behind the curtain."
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, if you want to listen back, Alex and Ross, they griefed me a few times because obviously they know me as a friend.
It was your first day too, right?
No, certainly not. But yeah, outside of that, the casting was good. We listened to a lot of it.
Yes,
So,
we did.
awesome. Well, cheers, Emily, for coming on
Yeah.
and chatting some poke.
Yep.
How did you find EUIC first time coming out here?
I played a lot of Cube, and now I'm the Cube Queen. I'm
Yeah.
not, but
Destroyed Alex.
I did.
It was insane. He's never going to recover from that. Right, and I'll never let him forget it either. So good. Yeah, cheers everyone. We'll be back. Well, I'll be back tomorrow for another video.
You don't know that.
Yeah, and see you next time. Cheers.